Have you ever seen someone take charge effortlessly, setting goals, making decisions, and leading a group forward with unshakable confidence? That's the ENTJ, bold, ambitious, and always thinking 10 steps ahead. Now, have you also met someone who prefers to move quietly, creating, observing, and working on their own terms, unconcerned with rigid structures or external validation? That's the ISFP, introspective, artistic, and deeply connected to their own sense of meaning. Put these two in a critical thinking workshop, and you might wonder how they'll ever find common ground. One is focused on efficiency and results, while the other is driven by personal expression and feeling. So do they work against each other, or do they create something neither could build alone? Could it be that they define success completely differently? The ENTJ wants achievement, influence, and progress, ensuring that every step taken is part of a carefully designed plan. They thrive in structured environments where strategy, delegation, and execution lead to tangible results. If something isn't working, they'll analyze, restructure, and push forward with even more intensity. To them, success is about winning, leading, and leaving an impact. The ISFP, on the other hand, doesn't care about external success. They want their work to feel authentic, meaningful, and personally fulfilling. Instead of leading the charge, they prefer to explore, create, and refine things in their own way, guided by emotion and artistry rather than efficiency and competition. Now imagine these two sitting across from each other, analyzing a problem statement. The ENTJ is focused on objectives. What's the fastest way to solve this? Who should be in charge of what? How do we ensure long-term results? They're already outlining a plan before the discussion even begins. Meanwhile, the ISFP is absorbing the situation in their own quiet way, considering the emotional impact, thinking about how the solution will feel rather than just how it will function. While the ENTJ is saying, let's move forward, the ISFP is wondering, but does this actually matter? Will this create something meaningful? One is driven by efficiency, the other by experience. Isn't it obvious that this could lead to frustration? The ENTJ might see the ISFP as too passive, too hesitant, or even too self-indulgent, wondering why they won't just take action and follow the plan. The ISFP might feel overwhelmed by the ENTJ's forcefulness, seeing them as too rigid, too demanding, or too focused on control rather than creativity. The ENTJ values decisiveness, strategy, and execution, while the ISFP values freedom, flexibility, and emotional depth. The ENTJ might think the ISFP lacks direction, while the ISFP might think the ENTJ lacks sensitivity. But isn't the real value in what they could learn from each other? The ISFP reminds the ENTJ that not everything is about structure and conquest. Sometimes, the best solutions come from exploration, intuition, and emotion. They soften the ENTJ's intensity, helping them see that impact isn't just about success, it's also about meaning and artistry. Meanwhile, the ENTJ helps the ISFP take action, push past self-doubt, and bring their creative ideas into the real world. The ISFP, left alone, might hesitate to share their work or commit to a goal. The ENTJ gives them momentum, showing them how to turn inspiration into reality. So do they clash, or do they create something extraordinary together? If they learn to trust and respect each other's strengths, the ENTJ brings drive, leadership, and execution, while the ISFP brings depth, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Separately, one risks being too rigid and controlling, while the other risks being too hesitant and withdrawn. But together, they create solutions that are both powerful and deeply meaningful. Maybe the real challenge isn't in choosing between action and introspection, it's in learning how to weave them together into something truly impactful. Now, imagine an ENTJ, strategic leader, and an ISFP, creative composer, placed in a structured cognitive engagement model within a critical thinking workshop. The ENTJ will immediately take charge, structuring the discussion, delegating tasks, and pushing toward an efficient, goal-oriented solution. They thrive on order, decisiveness, and long-term strategy, ensuring that every move has a purpose, a structure, and a path to execution. Meanwhile, the ISFP will approach the problem intuitively, preferring to explore ideas organically, focusing on the emotional and artistic dimensions of a solution rather than rigid structures. They prioritize creativity, personal expression, and the experiential impact of a decision rather than just its efficiency. While the ENTJ is designing an aggressive plan for success, the ISFP is quietly contemplating how the solution will feel and whether it aligns with their values. Isn't it obvious how this could lead to frustration? The ENTJ might see the ISFP as too passive, too hesitant to act, and unwilling to commit to a decisive course of action. They may feel that the ISFP is avoiding structure, letting emotions interfere with practical decisions, and focusing too much on subjective experience rather than measurable results. Meanwhile, the ISFP might find the ENTJ overwhelming, overly controlling, and dismissive of deeper meaning in their rush to get things done. They may feel that the ENTJ is so focused on efficiency and leadership that they overlook the human, artistic, or emotional aspects of the solution. The ENTJ creates momentum, but without the ISFP's intuitive depth, their solutions risk being cold, impersonal, or missing an essential creative element. Meanwhile, the ISFP introduces innovation and beauty, but without the ENTJ's structure and decisiveness, their solutions risk remaining undeveloped or unexecuted. But isn't the real power in what they can teach each other? In a structured cognitive engagement framework, the ENTJ provides direction, structure, and execution, ensuring that ideas don't just float in an abstract space, but are implemented with purpose and clarity. They cut through indecision, eliminate inefficiencies, and drive the group toward measurable success. The ISFP, in contrast, provides depth, authenticity, and emotional awareness, ensuring that solutions don't just work, but also resonate with people on a human level. They add layers of creativity and artistry, making sure that a decision is not just logical, but also meaningful. This balance is what makes their engagement truly fruitful. The ENTJ prevents stagnation, and the ISFP ensures depth and resonance. So what happens when they lean into their differences instead of resisting them? The ENTJ brings the energy of momentum, ensuring that the workshop doesn't fall into endless contemplation or indecision. They push for efficiency, setting deadlines, and demanding results, ensuring that ideas don't stay theoretical. Meanwhile, the ISFP ensures that speed doesn't compromise substance, reminding the group that meaning, creativity, and ethical considerations matter just as much as execution. Instead of seeing the ENTJ as forceful, the ISFP can learn to trust their ability to bring structure and focus, while the ENTJ can recognize the value of ISFP's slower, more intuitive process in crafting something truly impactful. The key to structured cognitive engagement is understanding that momentum and meaning can work together rather than against each other. The ENTJ thrives in a structured, results-driven environment, while the ISFP needs space for creative flow, sensory experience, and authenticity. When both approaches are balanced in a critical thinking workshop, the ENTJ forces the group to move forward with confidence, while the ISFP ensures that what they are moving toward actually matters. The ENTJ keeps the ISFP from becoming too lost in personal expression, while the ISFP reminds the ENTJ that people connect with solutions not just because they work, but because they inspire. What was once a clash of leadership and artistry turns into a highly effective collaboration. Could it be that the most effective critical thinking workshops don't just encourage action or creativity alone, but the interaction between both? The ENTJ challenges the ISFP's tendency to hesitate, while the ISFP slows the ENTJ down just enough to ensure that decisions are meaningful, not just efficient. One brings strategy, the other brings soul. If they learn to trust each other's approach, they create solutions that are both actionable and deeply resonant, something neither could fully achieve alone. The ENJ ensures execution, while the ISFP ensures that execution is worth pursuing in the first place. Maybe the real challenge isn't in choosing between structured leadership or free-flowing artistry. It's in learning how to integrate both into a thinking process that is both strategic and emotionally impactful. When these two seemingly opposite forces engage in structured cognitive engagement, they don't just solve problems. They create solutions that are both high impact and deeply meaningful. If a critical thinking workshop is meant to bridge gaps between logic and creativity, speed and depth, then there is no better pair to model that dynamic than the ENJ and ISFP working together, one driving forward and the other ensuring that the direction is one worth taking.